Right. All right, guys, so this is what the second day of the post test will look like, is all the problems that we're going to review today. So I'm going to go quickly through what you're supposed to do on this question and then make a suggestion about what you might do to make life easier. This is a linear function, so it's a line. When they put in an 8, they got out a 10. When they put in a 4, they got out a 9. Okay? So what you were taught to do is find the slope. 9 minus 10 over 4 minus 8, change in y over change in x. The slope is 1/4. And then use point slope, like y minus 9 equals 1/4 x minus 4. I'm using this point in point slope. And you'd have to distribute this and then add the 9 over here. So you'd have 1/4 x minus 1 plus 9 would be plus 8, I think. My little shortcut, anybody know what I'm going to do? How? What were the x's? 8 and 4, and the corresponding y values were? Okay, so 8, 10, and 4, 9 were the 2 points you're telling me? Okay, so what am I trying to find the equation of? A line, right? So stat, right arrow. Number 4, right? Linear regression. And I don't even really need to store it because I just have to write it on my paper. It says 0.25x plus 8. Is that what we got? Except as a fraction? Okay. Does everyone understand that f of x means y, so you need to get it in that form, and we're all good? Okay, so feel free to cheat and use the linear regression. I don't care. Number 2, exact answers, no decimals. Guys, that's a really big hint that it probably doesn't factor, okay? What do you have to use? Quadratic formula, x equals opposite of b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all under the radical all over 2a. All right, a is 1, b is -6, and c is -11. So I have a +6 plus or minus the square root of -6 in parentheses with the squared on the outside, minus 4 times 1 times -11, which is going to turn this into a +44 plus 36. Is it 80, guys? So we end up with 6 plus or minus the square root of 80 all over 2. All right, the square root of 80 is 16 times 5. So this becomes 4 square roots of 5. So we have 6 plus or minus 4 square roots of 5 over 2. Okay, does it become 3 plus or minus 4 square roots of 5? Somebody's going to do that, and that's not right. Why not? Well, you can, but you also have to reduce. Remember, the better way to think about this is to separate it. This is the same as 6 over 2 plus or minus 4 square roots of 5 over 2. So you can only reduce if they both reduce. So it's 3 plus or minus 2 square roots of 5. I don't know that the one on the post test has as much simplifying, but questions? We good? And you could write them separately or together up here. I don't really care. I already forgot what they were. Was it 3 plus 2 square roots of 5 and 3 minus 2 square roots of 5? Okay. You can leave it plus or minus. I don't care. Any questions? All right, number 3, this is a calculator question. And you have to find an appropriate window for a question about the height of a ball thrown from the top of a building with an initial velocity of 80. You're given the equation, but you cannot tell me that time can be negative, okay, or that height can be negative. Now, I don't care if you use a little bit of a negative window so that you can see your axes better, but, okay. You will not get full credit on this question if you don't make a window appropriate to the story problem. Negative 16x squared plus 80x plus 22. All right, so what is an appropriate window? What is x representing? X is not height. So time, so I'm going to put 0 to 10 and see if it comes down or not. I'm going to leave this negative 10, but I'm thinking it goes up pretty high. I don't know, I'm going to try 150. That's not a bad window, right? The 150 was a good guess on the height, and I can see when it comes down. I really don't need 10 seconds, so if I wanted to make it look nicer, I could change that to like 6 seconds maybe. But as long as it's not unreasonable for the story, your window was fine. So let me, for the window, I wound up with 0 to 6 and negative 10 to a positive 150, and you certainly could put 0 to 150 there. Any questions? If you had a little bit bigger, you know, 0 to 200, that's fine, but it shouldn't be 0 to 1,000 so that you can't hardly see it. Okay, what time did the ball hit the ground to the nearest tenth of a second? How do we find that?
0.
Yes, we go second, trace, calculate the 0, and 1, 2, 3, 4, looks like it's between 4 and 6 seconds. So I'm just going to type that. You can trace around if you want. Make sure it does not still say guess. You need it to say 0. So I have 5.26. Did anyone else get that? Okay. So that would round to what? Because some of you lost points for rounding yesterday. 5.3 seconds. And we should, part of the points are for drawing this. It does not go through the origin. Okay. During what time interval is the ball more than 100 feet above the ground? How are we going to figure that out? There's a better way than just tracing. Do you remember what we did? Yeah, if we put y sub 2 as 100, then this graph is showing when it's more than 100. And to find those intersection points, yes. Choice 5, enter, enter, enter. So 3 point, and we're supposed to round to the nearest tenth, yes? 3.7 that would round to. I'm not going to be real picky. Honestly, if you typed 3.7, it does show it's at 100, so it's not really above, but it's close enough. What was the other intersection point again? Is second trace intersect, but this time I need to scroll closer to this for my guess so that it finds this one. The guess is what helps you locate which one it's finding. Now it says intersection, so I have 1.3. If I actually were to type 1.3, oh, you know what? I'm not on the right one. It's actually just below 100, but I'm not going to be that picky. I know it says more than 100 feet, but if we're rounding, I'm good. So it should really be 1.4, but I'm not going to be that picky. It says to the nearest, so we're just going to round to the nearest on this one. If you put 1.4, it's fine. What was the other one, guys? I forgot. 7? Okay. So just find the intersections and give them to me. I'm not going to worry about whether it's strictly 100 or above. Not on that one. There's one where we do have questions like that. But okay, explain how to find the average rate of change of the speed of the ball from t equals 3 seconds to t equals 5. Use the function above, label your answer. You need an explanation and work. This is a lot of points on this question, guys. Average rate of change, does anybody even remember what that was? Yes, average rate of change is slope. We just do slope because that's the rate of change that we're finding. From 3 seconds to 5 seconds. So basically you're going to put in a 3 and see what you get out, and put in a 5 and see what you get out. You could do that from the home screen. You could do it from the trace. Yeah, I mean, that's what you could do it from the home screen. That would be a whole bunch of wasted time. But you could go to the table. At 3, it's at 118, and at 5, it's at 22. Or you could certainly just trace. Again, we aren't worried about this line, so make sure you're not tracing that one. Trace 3 is 118, and 5 is 22. All right, then what? Okay, so again, we're really using the 0.3, 118, and 522, and you can write them that way, I don't care. So change in y over change in x. Somebody else get negative 48? Okay. So what does that mean? Yes, it's falling 48 feet per second. And if you just wrote there negative 48 feet per second, I would take that, okay? Don't lose a sign if it has a negative, and you must label your answer because that was part of the question. But it also says explanation and work, so show your work, and basically your explanation can be, I found the values. If found, please return to, okay, I found height at 3 seconds and 5 seconds, and found slope, because that equals rate of change. Something like that. Just use the word slope. Questions? You gonna remember that one? Okay. The next one says the following 3 transformations are applied in this order to the graph of f of x equals square root of x. Whatever parent function they give you, you have to use that, okay? So the parent function is the square root of x. I don't care if you write f of x equals or not. Now, what will be a vertical stretch, guys? Is it affecting X or Y? If it's vertical. If it's Y, so it's not inside on the X, it's on the whole function. And then when it's outside on the whole function, it's exactly what it seems. So what will stretch it by a factor of 2? Okay. A horizontal shift to the right 3 takes that same function, and horizontal means it's changing x's, so it's inside on the x, and anything inside is what? Yes, so instead of right 3 being positive, it's actually minus 3. And then a vertical shift down 2 is vertically, so it's y, so it's on the whole function. I could put it all in parentheses. I don't need to, because the order of operations said the last thing I would do is what? Down 2, and it's not needing to be the opposite. So we have 2 square roots of x minus 3 minus 2. Any questions? Reflect over x is where? It's changing y values, so it's out in front, okay? If it had said reflect across the y, then the negative would be inside. Good. All right, this is just about using function notation. Do you remember what this means, though? It doesn't mean multiply. What does this fog mean? So we put a 7 into G. So 3 times 7 plus 1 divided by 2 is 22 divided by 2, which is 11. And then we plug that answer into F, so it's F of 11. 11 squared plus 1 would be 122, I think. Did someone else do that and get that answer? Okay. I don't think I made any arithmetic mistakes. We good? All right. Then one of the most missed questions. I feel like we did this 1,000 times, but remember, this is a kind of a long, complicated process. Inverse function is, first of all, just rewrite but then does anybody remember what we have to do?
You have to
Cross multiply, isolate y so that we can factor, and then at the end we end up dividing. Does anybody remember those steps? So if I put this over 1 and I cross multiply, going this way I get 5y plus 1. Doesn't matter which way you go first. Going this way I will have x times the quantity y minus 3. I do have to distribute that. Can't get by without it. Because now when it says isolate y, I need all the y's on one side and everything that doesn't have a y on the other side. Can someone tell me what that would look like?
5y minus xy, xy, and then it's 1 minus negative 1 minus 3x.
Okay, or negative 3x minus 1, same thing, right? Negative 1 minus 3x would be fine. Then, the whole point in isolating the y's was so that we could factor it out. So if we take a y out, this will become 5 minus x. And then we can divide by the quantity 5 minus x. So the way I did it, the order I did it in, I got negative 3x minus 1 all over 5 minus x. It is equivalent I don't know why that says y to the negative 1. It should be f of x to the negative 1, but it doesn't matter. It is equivalent to if the signs had been all changed. Oops, that would be an x minus 5. If you did it in a little bit different order, you would have got that one. Everybody okay? I do have more practice at the end if you need to see a couple more of those. Number 12, again, one I worry a lot about because it's a lot of points. First of all, the zeros, you just look at the graph. Where is it touching or crossing the x-axis? Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, 0, and positive 2. Does that seem right, guys? Any order you want. Okay, do we need any multiplicities? Where is there a bounce? A bounce means where it touched but did not cross the x-axis. The only bounce is at negative 5. So we need a multiplicity of what? Yep, 2 would be the easiest. It needs an even multiplicity. Please use the word bounce. Tell me where and what it does to the multiplicity, okay? Doesn't have to be a big fancy complete sentence on that one. All right, now to find k, we have to write the factors. If negative 5 is a 0, there's a factor of x plus 5, and this is where everybody forgets. You just told me it had a multiplicity of 2, so we got to put a squared on that one. 0, which you could put just an x out in front, or you could say x minus 0, doesn't matter. And 2 would be x minus 2. But there is some stretch out front that is causing it to go through what ordered pair? It goes through the ordered pair negative 2, negative 288. Isn't that lovely? So y is negative 288 when some k is multiplied by negative 2 plus 5 quantity squared, negative 2 minus 0, and negative 2 minus 2. Remember, all of this is multiplied together over here. So I have negative 288 equals k, and this would become 3 squared, which would be 9, negative 2, and this would be negative 4. So all that would be 72. Anybody getting that? So if I take negative 288 divided by 72, is it negative 4, guys? Okay. How do I check that that makes any sense at all? I could put it in. I'd probably have to mess with the window to make it look like this. But, guys, the end behavior is the check. What is the end behavior of this function? Both ends are going down. Do we have an even degree? An x squared, an x, and an x isn't degree 4 with a negative leading coefficient, so it checks. If you don't get the sign right, you should be able to check as soon as you look at the picture, right? For the end behavior. I think I have another one of those on the extra practice as well. Number 18 is on this part 2. How do we solve this using properties of logs, guys? Divide first, yes. Use your Algebra 1 skills first. Then it says log base 2 of x equals 8. Yes, I would rewrite it as 2 to the 8th equals x, but you can also do the big old 2 here and 2 here. These undo each other and you just get x equals 2 to the 8th. I don't know what that is. Thank you. Any questions on that one? I don't think that one requires an explanation. This one does require an explanation, and it specifically says, guys, the properties of logarithms. What property of logarithm are you using here? To combine these. Okay. They're both log 5, so what can we do with them? Yes, we can change that to a division. I think it's called the quotient property, but I really don't care about a name, okay? I don't know if this is how I would do it either, but I just came up with those words. Property of subtracted logs says it can be rewritten as what? Division. So you could say the quotient property. It's division. It's log base, or just say I rewrote it using division. X over 6. Log base 5. It becomes a single log of x over 6. Then you could use the word exponentiate or rewrite. It's not to anything. It's base, guys. Base 5 to what power? Equals x over 6. Okay, if you were looking at it as an exponentiate, what you have right now is log base 5 of x over 6 equals 2. So you put a big 5 here and a 5 here. These undo each other. You just get x over 6, and 5 squared over here would be 25. And then to get rid of a divided 6, we everybody okay? I might have another practice of that, I'm not sure. Again, if you wanted a fancy name, I believe we used the quotient property. We just did it in reverse. We changed subtracting to dividing instead of dividing to subtracting. All right. This one just says use the property of logs, so you don't have to actually name what they are. What is the base in this problem, though? E, so we'd have e to the y equals what? X minus d, and then we're supposed to get the x by itself, so we'd have x equals okay. If we add the d to both sides here, we have e to the y plus d equals x. Please make sure I can tell where all those numbers are. The only subscript or exponent is the y and the exponents. Everything else is regular size. We good? All right, this is the one that's so many points. We got good at these eventually. I hope we still remember. Wasn't that long ago. Create an equation to solve this application problem. Then use the length of time needed. Then find the length of time needed. A single cell amoeba reproduces every hour, and it says it doubles. That's your rate. Yeah, it's the half-life formula, but it's doubling. So we're going to have a 2 as the rate. This is the formula. The way it looks on the reference sheet. If 47 such amoeba are placed in a petri dish, what is that? N sub 0, so that's going to go out here. And at no point are we going to multiply 47 by 2, right? Okay. The amount of time... Oh, this is an easier question if it's really this easy on the... Guys, it says every hour, so what is this? Up here we'd have t over 1. It doubles every hour, yeah. So if it said every 4 hours it doubles, then you'd have t over 4 right there. That does not look like, looks like TT. I don't know what it looks like. T divided by 1. Yep, you could absolutely just use T for that question as long as that's what it says on there. How long is it until they grow to over 17,500? So equals 17,500, and we need to make sure we're rounding up so that we get it to fall above that. So what do we do first, guys? Divide by 47, and don't round, just leave it. So we have 2 to the t equals 75 or 17,500 over 47, and then what do we do? Whenever x is in the exponents, we have to log of both sides, whatever kind. So now if I bring the t out in front, sorry, I don't have room to write this well at all. Maybe I'll try over here. I would get t times the log of 2 equals the log of 17,500 over 47. Yep, can't squeeze that in there. Then what am I going to do to find t by itself? Log of 17,500 divided by 47, all divided by the log of 2. Well, at least we skipped that last step where we don't have a t over something still, because it was every hour. I got 8.54. Did someone else get that? Okay. If I round to only 8.5, I don't think it's going to work. We can try it, but I think we're going to have to round to what? 8.6. Did I type something wrong? You getting that, Jack? Okay. So what we have to do is put it back in, 47 times 2, and I don't think what did we get first? 8.5 is going to work. So 47 times 2 to the 8.5 is what we originally wanted to round it to. Oh, it is. Oh, it's not over 17,500, right? Is that what it's supposed to be over? Okay. So if we make it 8.6, then it is well over 17,500. So 8.6 is what we need it to round to. And then how much over, so at the end we have to subtract the 17,500. You have too many zeros.
Oh. Okay.
So I got 737. Did anyone get that? Okay.
So if we set up the equation or that you wrote for A and we plugged it in the calculator, will we still get our points? And we found our answers? Or do we have to?
You're supposed to show your work. I don't know that it's graded separately. Just make sure you do round up and everything. My guess is it's just 3 points, one for coming up with the right equation, one for the right time, and one for the right value. Sorry. You have answer in here.
Oh.
Let's just get rid of this. Better?
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else have a question? All right. I think I have an extra one of those. There is a regression on the quiz or the post-test. We've done a lot of these. We actually put it on when we rewrote the post-test because we thought it would be an easy one for you to get right. I'm hoping that's true. It specifically says what kind to use. This one says exponential. So you got to remember all the buttons. Stat, enter. And how far does it go, guys? Is there 5 points? I'm guessing 6, okay. Can anybody read me the numbers? Are they icky? Oh man. 49.3, 102.1, 199.1. I hope I gave you better numbers because it's so easy to put one in backwards or something. Okay, I think I have them right. Then what do I do next? Do we have to draw a sketch or anything? Okay, we don't have to draw a sketch, so it's okay if we don't turn the stat plot on for this one. What you want to do is go stat, right arrow, exponential, which is down a little ways, right? To 0. Make sure you're using the right one. And then yours should be list 1 and list 2. Mine are list 3 and list 4. And then make sure you store the regression equation. Again, if you're using one of my calculators, remember it's easy to just do alpha trace. Otherwise, it's vars, arrow to the right, enter, and I'm going to choose choice 2 because I have something in Y1 that I want to turn off but not erase. Ugh. Great. Stat, right arrow, 0, was it? Bad time to get out of there, Hofbauer. All right. So on the paper, I'm allowed to write down to the nearest thousandth. How many places is thousandths, guys? Tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So I'd write 24.976 times 2.002. Is that right? Okay, I already forgot what I said. 24. And then predict 2020. So if I use the stored place where I stored it, 2020 is 10 years in. So I'd have this number, 25,778. Is that what it was, guys? Okay. And That's fine. If you go down there onto that one, it probably has decimal places, but I don't care. If you use the stored equation, you're very accurate anyway. Okay. Anybody having trouble? Okay, this is our last one, guys. Becca sold cupcakes and cookies to raise money for a trip. She charged $3 per cupcake and $2 per cookie. So whatever order you choose this time. So the first equation would be she sold $44 worth. So the order I did it in would be 3x plus 2y equals 44. And then I'm going to write it out in words first. 3 times as many cupcakes. So cupcakes is more. And it's 3 times the cookies. So what will that equation look like when I put in letters? Okay, yes. Or 3y minus x equals 0, or you could use substitution. Any way you want to solve it, okay? I'm using substitution here. I got 4, she sold 4 cupcakes. And nope, I did something wrong. Oh, I changed right here. This was Y. Thank you. She sold 4 cookies and 12 cupcakes. Is that better? Yeah, I randomly changed to Y. I could have used a matrix, 3, 2, 44, 1, negative 3, 0, and done RREF. And it would have said 1, 0, cupcakes was 12, and then 0, 1, 4. It would have been like that. Questions? 4 cookies, which was Y, and 12 cupcakes, which is X, on mine. Okay, I have time to do one more maybe. What would you like to see? An inverse, another regression, a graphing rate of change, the properties of logs? I could do that one. It doesn't look like I have a properties of logs. Let's do one. I make one up fast. Log base 4 of x plus log base 4 of 7 equals 12. So those are both base 4, so I can combine them. Log base 4 plus would become times. And then I would do this, and I'm going to have a humongous number because I picked 12 over there. So I'd have 7x equals 4 to the 12th, and then you do 4 to the 12th divided by 7.
Can't be that bad.
So this would be called the quotient property. I'm sorry. What's multiplying? Product property of logs.
We're gonna say that that's very much
Yeah, I messed up. I should have just made it 2 or something. Okay, before I stop the recording, guys, I am going to go back and finish these. There's a bunch of them. So the recording will probably be another half hour or something. If you want to see me do these extra practice tonight, you can go straight to the end of the video. Does that make sense? I will also put the slides in. as a PDF. So if you just want to see them real quick and try them on your own without watching the video, you could certainly do that. Brandon, I'm going to see you after school real quick then to do that part. All right, guys, I promised I'd record a few more, but I'm running out of time here, so I'm going to skip this regression one. Maybe I'll do this one, but I'll just do it on my own calculator, so I don't have to type it all on that silly slow one. Oh, except my own isn't working either. Negative 16x squared plus 300x plus 15. So with that in mind, an appropriate window, I'm going to start with 0 to 10 and 0 to like 800 because I think it's going to go really high with that 300. Yep, okay. This one needs like 0 to 20 and 1200 maybe. No, 1200 isn't even high enough. Okay.
Any updates on learning a lot?
I have not heard from them, have you?
No.
Okay.
Save the world.
No. So I'm recording, you're good.
Oh, I'm sorry.
0 to, I wound up with a window of 0 to 20 and 0 to 2000. Okay. And that graph looks like this. What time did the ball hit the ground? Is find the 0, which is second trace number 2. And I think it's out towards 20 seconds. I have it took 18.8 seconds to hit the ground. When was it more than 400? I put in y sub 2, 400. And it's actually way down here on the graph. So I find those intersection points. And round to the nearest tenth, so 17.4. And this one is 1.4. So an interval in between those. Average rate of change from 4 to 7. The ordered pair for 4 is 959. And the ordered pair for 7 is 1331. So 1331 minus 959 over 7 minus 4 is something over 3. It's 372 over 3, which is 124 feet per second. And it was actually climbing. It's positive on that one. All right. This is a half-life. So we have 100 decaying. It would be T over 22 years down to 25 milligrams. So the first thing we do is divide by 100. This is supposed to be up in the exponent. I didn't write it very well. I'm going to take the log, and this is going to move out front anyway. And over here I have the log of 25 over 100, or 0.25. All right, if I slide this down, so I have T over 22. And over here, I would have the log of 25 over 100. And then I would end up dividing by the log of 1/2. So the log of 25 over 100, close parenthesis, divided by the log of 1/2 is 2. So I get t over 22 equals 2, multiply, and I get 44 years. All right, these are find the inverse. I'll just do one real quick. We have x equals y minus 4 over 2y plus 3. Cross multiply, and I get 2xy plus 3x, because I'm multiplying this by this quantity. Well, that was horrible writing. I am distributing this down here to this quantity, equals 1 times y minus 4. All right, if I subtract y to this side and the 3x to the other, factor out the y. Remember, this factors 2x minus 1. I take a y out of both of those things, and there's a 1 here. So to isolate y all by itself and solve for the inverse, I would have this over quantity 2x minus 1. Okay, I'm only going to do one of those. This one I would start down at -1, graph up 4 and over 1. The inverse would be x equals 4y minus 1 if I add 1 over there. Divide everything by 4. I'd have 1/4 x plus 1/4. Lovely. So it'd start at 1/4 here and go up 1 and over 4. But it would also go through -1, 0. And instead of 1, 3, it would go through 3, 1. So it would be here. I don't think that's on this part of the final. Domain, I don't think you have to know that. Okay, again, this was 2, 8 and 7, 18. You could do regression, otherwise it's 18 minus 8 over 7 minus 2. It's 10 over 5, the slope is 2. So y minus 8 equals 2 times x minus 2. Y minus 8 equals 2x minus 4. Y equals 2x. If we add 8, we get plus 4. All right. This one has zeros at -3, +2, and +5. It has multiplicity 2 at -3 because of the bounce. So it would be x plus 3 quantity squared, x minus 2 and x minus 5. And then we're supposed to put in 0, 15. So I have 15 equals k times, this would be 3 squared is 9. This would be a -2. And this would be a -5. So that would all become 90. So I have 15 equals k times 90. So 15 over 90 is 1/6. Something is wrong. Because I didn't get a negative and both ends are going down. Oh, the bounce is totally at 2. Okay. Multiplicity 2 at 2. The squared should be on here. Great job on the video, Hofbauer. All right, so it's 15 equals k times 3 times 4 times -5, because this was the one that was squared. So I get 15 equals k times negative 60. 15 over negative 60 is negative 1/4. So the answer, when I go back here, is negative 1/4 x plus 3 not squared times x minus 2 squared times x minus 5, which would make both ends go down. That makes more sense. This is just another quadratic, so I'm just going to do this one. Opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. 32 would be 57. 57 is divisible by 3. I think it's 3 times 18, 19. 3 times 19, which is not, so this would just be it. Doesn't simplify. All right, so there's the video. I didn't do all of them, but I did quite a few extras.